And we're finally back. It's the Smart to Noise Ratio Pro Audio Podcast.
It's been about a month.
Back from Christmas hiatus. Get used to this, kids, because it's probably going to be like this every
Christmas and Easter.
Yeah, every Christmas. Well, not so much Easter for me, but
I think Easter usually ends up being worse. Well, this year will be, because Christmas this year wasn't so bad, so Easter will be hell.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm your humble host, John Dayton, welcoming you back after a long production hiatus. To my immediate left is my co-host, Anthony Kosobucki.
Ladies, it's been a while.
So we hope we remember how to do this. We're just going over. We're still so cooked from our Christmas seasons. We're trying to, we talked about what we were going to talk about, and then we forgot. And I promise you, we're not on drugs. It's just what Christmas at a big church does to your brain. So anyway, I guess I'll start. I'll do the holiday wrap-up. I've been putting up a couple of posts on the blog lately, which you can find if you're not already a reader at smart2noise.blogspot.com. Project Movie is the thing. If you look under topics, you can click on a thing and read all the Project Movie posts. Things were going great. We had wrapped up shooting, and we were back at the place. I had my editing bay all set up. Started cutting audio, and it was not working out. And I was letting my boss down, which is not cool, because I respect him a good deal, and a good deal more than nearly every other person on this planet. So that took a bunch of scrabbling. I won't get into the whole story here, but finally got all of the dialogue acceptable, and most of it really pretty good. There was only some stuff that I'm really sort of still unhappy about. But there's a DVD yet, so there may be a chance to do some more ADR
stuff.
In my panic, I did a whole bunch more research, but that was the lesson learned at the end of it. Was I spent a year researching techniques in post production, not enough time trying stuff out. So had I had my wits more about me and done a little more testing, I would have been in a lot better shape. But anyway, the movie portion of our thing came together pretty well, and then we took that to the stage. Threw in some live action and a live band, tracked 32 channels for an hour and a half every night. Only had a couple minor snafus, like one...
Nothing started smoking.
No, but we had to track it to two different MacBooks. So like 24 channels went through a Presonus Studio Live console and FireWire out to one MacBook. And then all the vocals went out through my into my Motu 8x. Had some sync issues the first night, had to get them linked together. The only way to sync them was SPDIF from the Presonus into the Motu, which is a shame because the Motu has a much better clock in it. But long about 2/3 of the way through the evening, at least on the first and the last night, there would just be this hiccup, and then stuff would not match up anymore. Otherwise, though, everything, I think after an hour of recording, I was only off 0.7 of a millisecond.
That's not bad.
Not really.
Not for that
length of recording, considering that it was on
how you were doing it,
different interfaces, two different computers. So I did the math on it quick while I was in the shower. That's like per minute of audio. If I started counting and Anthony started counting, and somebody stopped us about the time we should both be at 250,000, I would be at like 250,002, and Anth would be at 249,999,999. That's how close the two machines
Wildly
were.
Unacceptable is what that is.
Yeah. We'll do better next year. Well, next year maybe I'll have a digital console and I can just go MADI out to USB 3 in, 56 channels all up in this piece.
Buy one of those 12 terabyte RAID externals and just do it all in 192.
Bam.
192 64-bit.
I recorded I did the whole thing in 24 44 1 because it's all going to wind up
16.
Yeah, it's all going to wind up 16 44. So I had thought about going 24 88 too, but meh.
You're gonna lose it anyways.
Yep. So that's that. Got my rough mixes done. Got all my sessions merged and did my rough mixes. We're gonna listen and approve tracks to mix down, and then I've got like this week to mix. 14
you gotta get it
cuts.
Out for Christmas, right?
Yeah, I gotta mix 14. Well, we thought we talked about it tonight about maybe trying to have the DVD ready, but there's just so many different elements. Like there's live video that's got to be synced up to the audio that I recorded. And
it'll be ready for pre-order by Christmas.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of pre-orders rolling in now. So I think what we're gonna do is we didn't do this last year, but we should have. We'll send out cards that say if you're giving it as a gift, someone has purchased this DVD for you, and it'll be ready.
Right.
We'll mail it to you. Yeah. Such and so. So, anyway, I'm gonna do my darndest to get the whole thing mixed down like Wednesday, and then sleep and come back Thursday and finish it and turn in mixes for approval. And then if there's any changes to be made, do those like Thursday night, Friday morning. And
if you want to do it over at my place, I'm going to be out of town, so I'll just give you my keys.
Oh, sweet. I always wanted keys to your place. Maybe I'll take some impressions. So anyway, that was my Christmas, and why I've been so busy. And then I got a week of mostly time off.
Nice.
So how'd it go for you, Christmas season?
Not too bad. Like I mentioned before that I hadn't really heard anything about what was going on for Christmas, and that's a little terrifying because what we usually do is the last few years since I've been there, we haven't done an adult production. It's always been really big with the kids. We've got a good kids pastor, and she's got tons of kids that don't even go to church there that come to sing in the choir and do the drama and stuff. And so last year it was super involved. Like we built a set out of scaffolding and had the Grinch ride down from the top of the scaffolding on the ceiling on a rascal scooter. It was pretty intense because like the slope on that, he should have face planted as soon as he started going down that hill. Like, I don't know how the kid made it. Those rascals are pretty.
Do the folks at your church understand the concept of liability? It must not.
It's an AG thing. We don't worry about that. God will take care of it.
Oh, yes, the assemblies. Never mind.
Just imagine Mr. Burns sitting in his chair, rolling his fingers together. Yes, the assemblies. So this, like last year, it was a 3-week set building production. And my church is not nearly as big as John's, so actually building sets into that thing is a little bit more difficult. We don't have as much space to actually construct things, so we've got to kind of scale down what we want to do and put it all in. But this year it was supposed to be pretty laid back. They only had one dress rehearsal, so that meant that I got my script the day of the dress rehearsal, 10 minutes before the rehearsal started.
I never read the script.
Never, like, no light cues. They're like, oh, we're going to have a choir, and there's going to be a nativity scene, and there's going to be an audition scene type thing over around here. Like, oh, all right. Found out that 3 of my smart lights, the ceramics in them are shot, and I don't keep extras of those around. So I need to go and pick up, I think they're MR 16s or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, thought, they were supposed to run it twice on Saturday. I was like, all right, well, I'll watch it the first time and then write my cues in the second time. They only ran it once. So I kind of, on the fly, just thinking maybe that'll happen. Wrote in cues pretty quick and then had to tie them all together later. But the problem was, the choir assistants told me what the counts were, and there were only 2 kids missing, but magically there are about 20 kids that just were not lit for the actual performance. I don't know where they all came from.
About par for the course. Like, yeah, we're gonna have about 40 kids, and that's what happens Saturday night, and then on Sunday, like, oh, there's 300 today. It's cool, right?
Like, I didn't. I was looking, like, I had adults stand in for them. I was like, I'm not gonna miss a single kid this year. It happened last year because 20 extra kids showed up on Sunday morning. Not happening this year. Soaked it real wide. I still missed like 20 kids. I don't know where they came from. They were the kids that weren't singing though, so I didn't feel too bad. Like they're the kids picking their noses and like putting boogers on each other and stuff. So that wasn't too bad, but it wasn't. I mean, it's not the worst that it's ever gone, so I can't really complain. It was just one of those. You wish that other people had your brain as to how it would be nice to know what the hell is going on more than 20 hours before production's going. Other than that, it was not too bad.
Yep. Actually, I had forgotten about all the other stuff that happened to me. I had kind of blocked out the memory. I guess. Like, in a 10-day period, I think I had 23 or 24 events to tech. I mean, that was my own 3 performances
plus
2 full dress rehearsals, 2 band rehearsals. 3 days of the women's Christmas event, 2 days of the kids' Christmas event.
Well, that's right. There was a surprise women's conference at my church. They actually advertised it as it's a surprise conference. Like, oh, when does that start? Oh, it's this week. Great.
So yeah, I don't want to talk too much about mine because I don't want to sound like I'm grousing about it because I'm happy to take care of whatever my people at church need, but and not just because it was the pastor's wife, the head pastor's wife. I'm just happy to take care of everybody's events, but then throw in like a couple of funerals extra because you can't ever plan for those. Like I had my hands full, and actually a nice thing happened is just the other day I finally got a volunteer because you never know. Like in a church of 2,000 souls, like there might be 10 people who are good at audio, there might be none, and I think I finally hit on somebody who's going to be some good help for me.
Is that the radio guy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, actually I think he's a fellow that worked in broadcast a bunch. I think once I kind of get to know him a little better, we're going to ask him on the show and talk about he's actually real familiar with that processor, that real common processor that goes on the outputs of every radio station. So if you're interested in mixing music that's going to get played on the radio, he is the guy to tell you what what stuff is going on there. And Evan just sent me a text. And he can get back to him later.
So we think of you.
I can't type and talk at the same time. It's not happening. Oh yeah, I gotta bring up. We're making our New Year's resolution early here at SNR.
Yeah, this is mostly me.
We're gonna clean up our potty mouths a little bit, which means mostly Anth is not gonna cuss as much.
I'm gonna try. I realized this is the first time that I said hell. I was like, oh yeah, that's not so bad.
I think we're just gonna try and make it like TV worthy, so you can still say like.
Are we talking NYPD Blue, Jimmy Smits era? Or what? Like, how is this post 10 o'clock TV?
Ish. No, some of the kids might be. I mean, you can say "damn" and "hell," I guess.
We'll make it a Simpsons
Johnny
episode.
Cash. Don't you know they're making a recording? It means you can't say "damn" or "hell" or anything like that. But no, I think it's really just the mother huckers that we're looking to.
There was an awful. I don't know why I found it, but I bought the Flight of Conchords DVDs, and there's a drinking game for it, and one of the options was anytime they fake swear, you have to take a drink, and
you got pretty drunk,
by mistake put on the Mother Uckers episode, and the song is only 2 minutes long, but it's
couldn't pour fast enough.
2 minutes and a half a bottle of whiskey long.
Not that we advocate binge drinking, Mike.
No.
Moving on.
I didn't get my Johnny Walker advent calendar, so I got to make up for it.
All right, so let's do mic techniques next, because we've both been trying a couple of different things in the drum realm, and I've actually got one guitar trick that builds on another guitar trick of mine. So I finally figured out how to make a stereo recording in my space. Even though my system is in mono, my recordings are now stereo.
Interesting. Yeah. That's kind of cool.
So yeah. But anyway, the first thing, let's do this so we can go back and forth. First thing is kick drum miking. We have one of our leaders sings, plays acoustic guitar, and when he leads youth events, he doesn't have a full backup band anymore, so he's just been playing kick drum along with his acoustic guitar. It works out great. Yeah. The kids love it. It still has that big kind of rock and roll feel, even though it's just one guy with an acoustic guitar. So for one of the numbers in the service this week, he brought his kick drum over and threw a mic in. So he brought with him the Shure Beta 52 from over in the youth venue, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try Brother Anthony's patented stolen kick drum technique. I don't know where he stole it from.
The first time I ever heard of it was it was a Kingdom Bound. Kevin actually told me about it.
Kevin
Mitlicky.
Oh, Mitlicky. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he knew what he was talking about for a while. I haven't seen that kid in over a year, but he was sitting at front of house with Seb, and I guess somehow I don't know how he got on stage because he just had like an "I'm going to the event" pass, but somehow managed to weasel his way backstage and like hung out in the production office all day, and ended up going up. And they're like, "Hey, could you go and place mics on the kit?" And he's got no tags, nothing. Just like, yeah, whatever, just go up on stage. So whoever the band was that was going up next, Kevin placed all the tom mics, and then their engineer came up and did kick and snare and overheads. So what he did was he stuck just one mic in, just a Beta 52. He put it in, I don't know, probably about 4 or 5 inches, and then flip it up, like flip it back.
So the mic's actually looking at the front head, the
right,
non-beater head, at about the top of the rim.
Right. So it works in my brain. Like I can see the cardioid pattern, what it's picking up. It's
getting some front head, some shell.
Right. But you're just like, because there's such a good beater sound to it. Mm-hmm.
I think it's catching a nice reflection of the beater.
That's got to be it.
Yeah.
Because it only works on kick drums. Obviously, you can put it in, but there's got to be a front head. Otherwise, it sounds kind of funny. So it's definitely some interplay with that. But
yep.
I did.
Yeah, I stuffed it in the kick drum and like no EQ. It just sounded like the Cats. You know what?
That kick drum.
Sorry to get all Flanders on you. Like the Cats, hey diddly hi.
The kick drum sounds pretty good though. That red sunburst. Yeah, I don't know. It's a Pearl? I think
Pearl Export. It's not even like a classy Pearl. It's
is it the Vision series? Because I think that's the same exact kit that we've got in our youth center.
Oh, maybe it is the Vision.
Like the Birch kit. It actually sounded better than the couple $1,000 kit.
I always liked the Pearl Exports. Like for a junk entry-level drum set, I always thought they sounded pretty good.
Yeah. Other than that awful snare that you can't.
No,
there's no amount of gaff tape that gets the ring out of that sucker. It doesn't matter how good you are tuning it.
So yeah, crammed it in there, and at rehearsal it sounded great, and I was like, awesome. So I kind of looked in there to remember where it was, and then today he came in, and at rehearsal everybody was facing in. He was turning himself around to face out, and just jammed it back in there, and doggone if it didn't sound like $1 million just again. Mm-hmm. So moving from that, well, you want to?
The only reason I did that to start with was I ran out of inputs. Like my drummer at the time was playing a big, only one kick, but he had 5 toms. Like he had 2 on the top, 2 on the side, and then on the ride side, and then he kept another one by he kept one over by the hi-hat side too for just real big. I think he kept a 14 on that side, and then the 16 and 18 on the other side, and 10, 12 up on top. And so there was that, 2 snare mics, hi-hat mic, overheads, ride mic, because he played 2 different rides in a couple songs, so we had to mic both of those. And I was like, well, I think we're skimping on the kick. He's like, it's cool. Let's just do this. And stuff it in there, threw a blanket in, kicked it back, and it sounds unbelievable, especially through the Joe Meek. Like, it's super clear. So your Beta 52 through your Joe Meek.
How is Joe these days?
A couple more knobs fell off. I got to fix. They're the ones that you can tell I use the most too. The high pass filter for the most part.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. I was thinking like I was going to borrow my Joe Meek back. This freaking thing. Just the other day, Anthony was telling me, I've been using the Joe Meek Twin Q in the studio just a ton lately, and I tell you, it's the best money I've ever spent, John. You have got to buy one of these.
You've got to get one of these. It would be cool if we had matching ones, so if I ever needed 2, I could borrow.
I could just loan you mine, yeah. But I was seeing Joe's got a couple different outs. I think it's got Toslink out and AES and maybe Spidiff too.
It's got does it have a light pipe out too?
I think it does have Tossels on it.
Okay, so it's got that. It's got the
Not that anybody has a Toslink cable anywhere in this end of the state.
Yeah, but I think I'm almost positive it's a light pipe, so I can dump that into my interface. But for the most part, I'm using my 2 other preamps, so I've got those running light pipe, and then I'll take the Spidiff out of Joe and put that in.
Well, I was thinking about doing that. If I needed an emergency couple of inputs for my Christmas thing, I was going to come get Joe, and because the Joe or my Motu can handle, right. 8 analog ins, 16 ADAT ins, a couple AES, a couple Spidiff, whatever.
Right, and that's got the AES on it too. So,
so it'll actually handle 8, 32, like over 40 inputs.
Oh wow!
All told, if you plug every single thing in, but. Anyway, that got me thinking about interfaces because I have a couple junky like Behringer ones with RCA plugs on them that I used to use I used to gang 2 of them up to take the
stereo,
groups.
and so you would do band and then vocals on. Right?
Well, I do like a kick snare group, a rest of the kit group, a guitar group, and a vocal group, and then like bust the bass along with both of the drums or something like that. I used to use it to get junky bar band recordings. But I don't have a good interface anymore. Like, we got this ART dual pre for work, and I'm like, man, I need an interface. Like, I'm tired of borrowing stuff from work to do the podcast, and like there are times I need to do voiceover work at home, either for work or for a show. So I'm like, I'm gonna get me a Focusrite for Christmas, because somebody gave me an Amazon card, and I'm probably gonna get another one for my folks. It's like, all right, I would do that, and then a little cash coming in from the New Year's gig. So I start looking. I'm like, all right, Sapphire, nope. Sapphire 6, this, nope, more, bigger. Oh, I need a digital out, so like more.
Liquid channel.
Yeah, I'm up to I didn't get quite to the liquid channel. I was like, no, I'm just going to get the little $100 2-input job, because I'm getting a Behringer X32, and I'll be able to take 32 in from USB, so screw it. Like, I'll be good. But enough about interfaces. The other thing we wanted to talk about. Oh, you know what? I want to pause for 2 seconds. We didn't actually listen to it here, but you saw and heard the new SNR intro at the top of the show. That is thanks to young intern Evan. He got some new rendering, modeling, whatever software and
Video crap.
It's Vidiot stuff. Yeah, he's our our resident AV tard. He pieced that together for us, and he actually did the edits to the original title track. He's not a super mixer yet, though, so I took his edits and I did the edits and spruced
Could you give me
it up
stems, please?
Yeah, I had him stem that out for me, and I fixed it up for him. So anyway, nice. It was cool to collaborate with him on that, and we thank him for the new look after our didn't come in quite at the 25 episode mark, but maybe every 25 episodes or so we'll look to change things up.
That's good to know.
Like a new song, a new Herbie song for the Cosby Show every season. It'll be kind of like that.
New sweaters, new songs, new shows.
Anyway, the other drum thing, and I wish, like, I've known about this forever, and it just came up twice. Saw it 2 different places online. Didn't implement it before my show, and now I wish
you did.
To sweet baby Jesus that I had, because the Glenn Johns technique, it's Glyn John. Google search that. If I think of it, I'll put a link up. He's just this old British cat who's been working forever in the studios, and he's got this killer method for getting an awesome kit sound. Now, and he doesn't use any close mics. In fact, sometimes he doesn't even use a kick mic. Never uses a snare mic, never uses tom mics. He gets 2 large diaphragm condensers. One of them goes out about head height if you're standing up, sort of roughly over the first rack tom, looking at the snare drum. The other one goes sort of roughly in the neighborhood of the floor tom, also looking at the snare drum.
Right.
And they're both about equidistant from the snare drum. I watched a video tutorial where he's showing some college kids in some college studio how to do this, and they're like, "Well, do you measure?" And he's like, "No."
Right. Yeah. I love reading certain stuff where guys are, certain, really good studio guys are like, make sure you do your rule of thirds and all that stuff. And then you get like these giant, like, Steve Slate just released a Chris Lord Algae's drum samples pack. And they're just talking, and he's just sticking mics on stuff and like looking at them and shrugging his shoulders and walking over the next one. And like pretty much his thing at the end of the day, he's like, there's tens of thousands of dollars worth of microphones on this kit. They should sound good wherever I'm going to put them. And if they don't, there's a problem somewhere other than the microphones.
It's kind of like the Joey philosophy on microphone selection. You got mics? Yeah. Are they condensers? Yeah.
Do they work?
Good enough.
Let's record my album with them.
Let's go.
Okay.
That's very much my philosophy, because I've seen I'm a ham radio enthusiast, and I've watched guys who are bona fide engineers for their day jobs sit down and their hobby engineer stuff and like do all the math and all the calculus and all the diagrams and modeling and like build the perfect antenna and then deploy it, and it doesn't work for crap because of the power lines in their neighbor's gutters, and then somebody else will like run a wire up to their gutters and be talking to be talking to ham enthusiasts in Japan on that. So like just the best laid plans of mice and men.
That's why you clean your gutters out regularly. Really
get better.
You get the covers
better dynamic range. Yeah. But no, it just goes to show you that sometimes planning has its place, and sometimes you just throw some stuff out there and you get the vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, the Glenn Johns thing, like you hard pan those puppies out and boom. I mean, the drums. I've always been pretty happy with my drum overheads. Mm-hmm. I'm really happy with my drum overheads this week. There was one other. Got to twice this last week. Mic'd up 2 different choirs mid-side. I had an MXL 4000, just a junky, cheap, multi-pattern.
$200.
Yeah, $250 large diaphragm condenser, selectable pattern. threw that sucker in figure 8, put it sideways in front of the choir, who was standing kind of horseshoe around it. All the girls about 5-6 feet away. AKG C430 straight up the middle. And the trick to mid-side is you take your figure 8 track and you double it, and then you throw one of them out of phase.
And you hard pan them.
Well, you hard pan or anywhere in between. Like, you can control the stereo width by how much, as long as you pan them the same. And the beauty thing about this is, and
it gets wider.
You can actually make it a little wider than the speakers with that. Yep. Although it's not quite as crazy as some of the other non-coincident pair recording techniques where you put an Omni over here and you put an Omni 10 feet away and you put an Omni on the ceiling or whatever. You can. Stuff gets really weird sometimes with that stuff.
When you're on somebody else's dime, you do that kind of stuff.
Maybe if I try this one over here, where's my laser measuring device? Well, the cool thing about them is both of these projects. One's destined for the DVD and going to wind up on TV speakers, which may or may not have a surround sound system hooked up to them. More likely not, or it's going to get watched on iPods or ripped and watched on iPods. The other one's going to be playback during a musical, and the system in that hall may or may not be in mono. Mid-side recordings fold perfectly to mono. Mm-hmm. You lose the space, but you don't there's zero cancellation. There's no cancellation when you fold it to mono. So
if you got the ability to do it in stereo, it just sounds like that.
It's a neat trick.
When John was saying Joey's technique, do you have microphones? Yeah. Do they work? Yeah. Are they condensers? Yeah. All right, cool. He came. We've got a 9-foot grand piano.
Talk about this for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go freshen up. I'll be right back. Powder my nose.
But he came in, and I'm sure I've talked about it before, but he came in and he looked at the microphones, and I talk about them a lot, but the Shure KSM-44s, so they're multi-pad and they're Omni, cardioid, and figure 8. And he's like, I think I want to try something. And he just decided that he was going to do a mid-side. Took probably about 5-10 minutes, just walked around the piano, ended up finding the perfect place for him, running him in, and then stuck a Neumann TLM 103, Gordon's Neumann actually, underneath the piano, shooting up the bass register to get just this room-moving low end out of it. And after that, it was the first time that I'd actually seen it in action. So he, set it up, doubled it in Pro Tools, and just kind of showed me this neat way around it, which I was really upset to find out that in Logic, I haven't figured it out yet, how to double an input channel. You got to double it after the fact, so you can't really account for how big you're making something until it's all said and done, not while you're actually recording it. But he was, while we were recording the piano, he had everything moving around, and then actually while he was recording, automated the width in. So there were certain parts where he wanted the piano just huge, ginormous. Your head was inside of it, and the rest of the music was washing all over you. So for that, he flipped it to super hard pan, and then bumped the volume up on both of the figure 8 inputs. And it just got huge. You were swimming in that piano. It wasn't 9 feet; it was about 90 feet.
I like that.
Yeah, it sounded so cool, and then having the mono bass mic underneath. That I didn't have enough shock mounts, so what we ended up doing are, the floor scrubbers on the floor machines, the floor cleaning machines.
Yeah.
We got a stack of 4 of those and put a little boom stand on that.
It's not bad.
But yeah,
I'd see that working. One more mic trick, and I think we'll move on to something else. We need a sponsor, by the way. That's what the guys on the Audio Nowcast do. Is they get together and they have a few drinks, and then they do the first half hour of the podcast.
And the second half, they plead for people to give them stuff.
Well, no, they had whoever Aphex used to sponsor them. I forget who does now, but they hit pause, and then later on they cut in the message from the sponsor, and they can all go take a leak without having to interrupt things. So if anybody wants to sponsor us, even as a joke.
Yeah, anybody but Marlboro, really, because we should stop doing that. Yeah. If the people at Juicy Vapors would like to sponsor us.
Their theme song is so bad.
I've never on purpose heard it.
Don't listen to the radio. It's really, really bad. But, okay, the other miking technique, I've talked about it numerous times on the podcast and the blog, so you can look this up. I won't belabor it, but I like to live double mic all my guitar amps, a 57 on an angle, a 609 straight on, so I got a fat channel and a skinny channel. Mm-hmm. I didn't do this live because my system's in mono, but when I'm mixing down for the panning, I instead of automating the panning, because I want both guitars to kind of sit fairly close to the middle, but I want some space. You know, like I want big, lush guitars that kind of wrap around you. So what I'll do is whatever channel winds up being predominant, I'll pan that off to one side. So like, you know,
that's what I'll usually do.
And then the other one straight up. Well, in both cases, that was the 57 wound up being the predominant mic, and I just fattened it up a little bit with a 609. When the guys would solo, or when they would do something particularly lush, I push up the 609, which is panned straight up. So when I push somebody up for the solo, they don't come all the way to the middle, but the guitar moves to the middle without having to mess with panning. Like, it just kind of does it. So that's my other little...
That's when I'm recording, I'll do that too with, like, I got a little bit carried away for a while. I was using 3 or 4 mics to record one single guitar and using only one of them in the end. But what I'll do is if I'm using 2, I'll hard pan one of them. So usually what I'll do is I'll hard pan the condenser mic. And then the other one I'll keep probably about halfway or even 25% to whatever side it is, and run my effects. Like if I'm going to use, delay in Pro Tools or something like that, I'll run that on the one that's hard panned and leave the clean one or the non-effect doctored one just dead center. So you get some of the feel of it, but it's not too much. It doesn't, like, the effects don't take away from the guitar itself. We should talk about that, on the Eric Johnson song, that weird kick mic.
Oh, yeah, before we move off. So, yeah, we, Anthony was watching, what were you watching?
It was the Eric Clapton Crossroads Festival from 2007. I just put on while I was cleaning today, and I walked in during...
Where's the cutest little French maid apron? Sorry.
I'm wearing it.
Never mind.
But I happened to walk in the room. I'm not a huge Eric Johnson fan. Like, he's a good guitar player. I'm just not really big into his music at all. And, everything sounded pretty good. He's one of those guys that's just a tone monster. But I was looking at the kick drum, and it looked like a mistake at first. It was a Beta 52, but it was almost flat against the front of the head, but not pointing at the head, pointing away from it. Or, I'm sorry, pointing parallel to
like across
the front head.
It was aimed across the hole.
Right. So I'm wondering, like, that's something I want to try out. I just found this or saw it a few hours ago today, but I'm trying to think what exactly that would do. I feel like you get a lot more resonant head and a lot more wavy, washy type bass instead of something more punchy.
Then again, it could have just been an accident. Like, it might have been, and nobody caught it.
Right. And still, like, even in the video recording, it still sounded good, though. And there was only one mic. There wasn't one inside as well. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could work.
Yeah. Sometimes try that out. If anybody tries that out before I do, let us know.
Let us know. Also, let us know if you have questions. We'd love to answer them either on the podcast or on the blog. Mm-hmm. If you asked us questions before and we didn't get to them before the Christmas rush, resend those suckers. Yeah. There's no way. The inbox has become a dense jungle of unanswered email. The odds are really not in your favor.
If it doesn't say healthcare reimbursement, I'm not checking it. That's really all I'm looking for right now. That, or you forgot to pay this bill. Oh, all right. Those are the only ones I'm really keeping up on.
All right. So moving on. I think the next thing we want to do, we're trying to make this kind of a regular segment on the blog. Anthony's kind of taken it upon himself to do we call it the playlist, where we just sort of talk about whatever music is making our head explode. And
it's been wildly neglected for the last couple months.
Yeah. So we're going to pick it up just a little bit, just because we've always got
something we're listening to.
Yeah, I don't walk into his house without it being in the first 10 minutes. We're both talking about something we heard in the last week. For me, it was, and it's been out for 2 months, but I've been living under a rock for 2 months and 2 days, so I missed it. Green Day got incredibly prolific recently and released 3 full albums over the course of 3 months. I just heard the first single from the first one, Let Yourself Go. And, I'm driving along, and it was funny. I was on my way to work. I stopped to get a burger. I'm sitting in the car, and the old standard Lit song comes on, My Own Worst Enemy. And I guess I hadn't heard the original of that in a long time. I'd only heard bad bar bands cover it. And I had this epiphany. I was like, man, these guys are actually in the pocket with this. That's why it always sounds so bad when
other people do it, because they're all over the place.
Yeah, that lead lick, like, it's really kind of laid back and syncopated, and guys in bar bands play it like dunk 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 dunk, like, just.
And the drummer's always late with the second cymbal hit.
Yep.
So, I almost got it that time, guys.
Yeah. So, and it's not listening to it. I mean, it's really not an easy song to play the way they played it. You know, like, you kinda,
not for white people.
Yeah. Well, that's our disadvantage in this part of the country. Is like when you're of either, you know, Polish, German, Irish. Italian, or Irish descent, there's not a lot of hope for you in the rhythm department. Well, anyway, so that ends. I mean, that was a pretty good recording, like for a punk band, you know, a power pop punk band.
Good old 16-bit digital.
Yeah, it's I don't know, 15 years old now or whatever.
At least, yeah.
That old, but it's a good recording. Like, it still holds up. Immediately following, on comes the new Green Day, and the kick drum is 5 times bigger, and the guitars are 10 times wider, and the vocals are 20 times more in your face. I'm just like, yes! Like, it just made my head explode. Like,
rock and roll.
It was just big balls rock and roll. And I got to work, and I looked up, like, I have to know who mixed this.
Yep.
Chris Lord-Alge.
Of course.
And if I tried to do... Like, I couldn't do one of the things he did to this. Like, if I made a kick drum that big, that would be the whole record. Like, there wouldn't be room for guitars and vocals. And if I did the guitars that big and that wide, there wouldn't be room for anything else.
See, what you need to do is get yourself a 70-input SSL 4000. That's just...
It must be the desk, yeah.
Obviously, it's the equipment that's doing all of that.
But the thing that really got me about it was one, that he got that much subsonic energy in it that... in a stock sound system in a Chrysler minivan, or no, a Chevy minivan, there was enough kick drum to make my pant legs flap, and nothing else. Like, not even Volbeat makes my pant legs flap. I felt like I was standing at the show.
You wonder if he instead of, because they do the sub kick, but that's a 6.5-inch speaker.
But how did he cram? Like, it's not that big a deal to capture it. Like, how did he get it and over the radio get that much? Like, I played it, I downloaded it, I got it on my iPod. I almost blew the windows out of my car with the stock system. So that, and the other really cool thing about it, and I'm going to need to see what I can dig up on this, is the guitars. You know, obviously live it's just Billy Joel. Well, I guess no, they tour with another guy.
Do they?
They did on the last tour.
Oh, okay.
But you know how when you listen to stuff in the car, like, one, there's less dynamic range because it's the radio, or even if you're using playback. Yeah, like most heads, when you get them so they're good and loud, they start to get squashy. But just the width of things, the stereo width goes away in a vehicle unless you have a really high-end vehicle with a high-end sound system. And this one, I felt like the guitars were outside the car. And I would love to know how he did that. So, Chris Lord-Alge, if you're listening, apparently Dave Ratt at least reads the blog. I don't know if anybody...
What?
Well, I had that little survey on the side of the blog, like, click what kind of sound guy you are. And it's like, I'm a studio professional, studio amateur, live sound pro, live sound amateur. I do sound at my church. And one of the choices is, I'm Dave Ratt. That's been checked 4 times. So either we've got repeat...
Stop it, Carl.
We've either got repeat business from Dave Ratt, or, yeah, Carl has been a wise guy 4 times.
It wasn't me. I always said I was going to do it, but I never have.
Me neither. Okay, so anyway, that was my exploding head moment, was hearing the new Green Day. And I don't know, I'm an unapologetic Green Day fan. Some other friends of ours be like, it's crap, it sucks, all the new stuff's junk. I think that might just be Mullen because he's in the whole country punk extravaganza thing. Like, he feels like he's legit because he's playing in this hipster country punk band.
We're going to fist fight with Mullen next time we see him about it.
I'll fight. He's easy to knock over. He's probably half in the bag. We love him, though. And actually,
since he was 16.
I really like his band, and I owe him a review on the blog, too. So we are going to get to that. It's a really good band, but I can see where he would think that Green Day would like sellouts and whatnot.
Well, no, he was kind of
but they sell out stadiums, so
he was disappointed. Like he really wanted it to be like a good comeback punk record, and I think he was looking more for that, and that's what he was disappointed by because it wasn't
for like Dookie or
So like
the thing is, the reviews, like everybody's saying, it's going back to that. Like it's got that, even though it's very polished and produced, it feels as pissed off as Dookie.
Yeah, you don't have to be. Just because you're big, like there's, I don't know how I got onto it, but I was watching videos on YouTube and half of them wouldn't work for some reason today. Just half the stuff just wouldn't play. So I ended up watching this video. It was a tour, I think in Austria or Germany, that the Foo Fighters were on, or that was one of their stops. And the title was Foo Fighters Diss Coldplay. I was like, sweet, they hate them too. So I put it on.
I've seen that one.
And he's like, you know what? We made it. He's like, I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, we're pretty friggin' big. So, like, we did tours before, and, you know, Nirvana sold out, all that stuff. He's like, but we're at the point now where we can pretty much do what we want and not have to worry what people are going to tell us. That's why we did an album on tape and in my garage. Like, you get to a point where you don't have to be dumb about stuff. You don't have to totally sell out everything, but, you know, if you've got the money to do something better, why wouldn't you? Like, why would you go back to the same 4-track cassette tape to record a big giant album on when you're making millions upon millions of dollars? Just do it better. Why not?
Well, that's just the cool thing about production now is like, okay, like not every gutter punk band is going to be able to make something that sounds as good as a Chris Lord-Alge produced Green Day album.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if like the Sex Pistols or Glenn Danzig had Pro Tools and like just Pro Tools and a MacBook circa like late 70s, early 80s, how good original punk could have sounded? I mean, like I'm trying to think. What was the
old Clash stuff?
Well, the Clash sounded pretty good for when it was, but like the Misfits stuff, like
how dirty and nasty and like just
but you listen to it, it's like it just sounds thin.
Yeah,
it's
there's no they cut out anything below 500 on the bass. It's just it's all din in it, like it sounds like guitar.
Yeah, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that whole sellout thing. Like, I'm not a huge Metallica fan anymore, but like that was what it's in one of their videos. You know, they're talking about like, yeah, people say Metallica are sellouts, and our response is, that's right. We sell out arenas, we sell out sheds, we sell out stadiums, we sell out. Bite us.
That Nickelback said something along those lines, but no one actually takes those guys seriously.
People keep buying their stuff.
They don't.
The thing is, though, Nickelback is a really good band. Like, they write abhorrent music, but their live shows are a good freaking party.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what it is. I feel like it's the rock version of a country show. Like, not knocking country at all, because those guys, like, country musicians blow pretty much almost anybody else out of the water.
True.
But when you go to a country show, you're going to drink beer and cry about your dog that died. Like, that's what you're going for. So Nickelback, you're pretty much going to whine about
strippers and cocaine.
Right, yeah. Rock and roll instead of Bud Light and country music. I don't know.
How did we get talking about Nickelback? I thought this was a classy operation. What else did we have to cover?
You were talking about new Metallica, so it just floated right in there.
Okay, so we got 20 minutes left. What do you got for your playlist selection?
That 12-12-12 concert.
Yes, the 12-12-12 concert, which in my neck of the woods cut to professional wrestling just before
at least it was professional wrestling.
Just before Sir McCartney took the stage with Dave Grohl. I had to watch that streaming, and it was pretty gappy. But good show. Like, not often do I see live music on television and think that it sounds really pretty good. So kudos.
I was trying to figure out how many splits they had running off. So, like, you figure you've got one for main TV feed, which was awesome because whoever was hitting the censor button was consistently 10 seconds behind the 10-second delay.
Were you getting different censoring than I was? Because mine got like this reversed. It sounded like reverse gating on it. Yeah. So like, and it was a long like there was only one length of censoring. So like, if somebody swore or they thought somebody was going to swear, I was like, "Hey, all you rotten, yep, how you doing tonight?"
And really, all he said was "dudes."
Yeah, yeah. Like I was reading Pete Townshend's lips there, and it was yeah.
It was pretty bad. Like, you're hearing everything come through, and man, it was just like, it's cable. Does it really matter?
Yeah.
Like,
but that was for the amount of time they had to put that together. Like, it went out on 30 TV networks, 30 radio networks, a bunch of websites streamed it. Like, they did a really slick job. Like, there were really very few holes in it, and the mix sounded great. Like, whoever was in the broadcast split truck, at least the broadcast, like, I listened to it on the radio, and I watched it on TV, and I thought it sounded darn good. And I can only imagine that they're going to actually, like, sit down.
I think they already
you
had.
You can get the whole thing on iTunes,
right,
but I think they're probably going to sit down and, like, do it upright.
Nice. That would be disgusting.
Because some of it was junk. Like let's just call apples apples. Kanye was wretched.
Did you watch the audience at all? Like the entire
They
time,
wanted him gone.
everybody was like, not while he was on, but the rest of the show, cell phones out, lighter, like the perfect rock arena scene. And he comes out on stage and everyone's like, oh,
Time to get a beer.
yep. And like the only people left were like the young trophy wives in front, just trying to figure
He's
out
the only
what was
artist
going
they
on.
recognize.
Right, exactly. Like you've got your husband that's 40 years older than you and worth.
But his was the one set that was really kind of played. Like I just felt like there wasn't any bass. Like I felt like the sub feed got missed off his
Or
DJ
it was
split.
just like, I wonder if they did a TV split where they just cut everything below 80, because all that stuff is super sub bass. Like it's real low.
I don't know, it just seemed forced. Like I actually like a couple of the songs that he did, and it seemed really forced. And Alicia Keys sounded really forced too. I thought, like, I love Alicia Keys, and
They definitely. They're
She
like,
could've been
oh
smoother, I
crap,
thought.
she didn't do Empire State of Mind. We should probably get her back to do that, and had her close the show on like, bring the piano back up out of the floor, get her a mic.
that was
Do
well, it was
quick.
McCartney's piano was still out.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually that one I liked. That was pretty good. But yeah, Springsteen amazing, Bon Jovi amazing,
Unbelievable. I never like.
Billy Joel
Yeah.
amazing. He looks like Brian Dennehy. He looks like Brian Dennehy these days, like just a big lump of an ex-cop. But he's still the piano man. He's got the pipes.
Oh, his sax player was so good.
Both of them.
Yeah, the girl that was playing percussion and singing. That Amanda was like, "Is that the same?" Like, yeah, she just left percussion
Her
and came
hat
over.
probably has more mojo than most musicians that we know personally.
And the guitar player was like, he didn't overplay stuff. Like he was right there when he needed to be. No stupid sloppy shredding and all that stuff. Like he was dead on.
Yep. And,
6 different Les Pauls, but they all sounded the same.
Right. And Eddie Vedder and Roger Waters was interesting. Not mind blowing, but interesting.
The other guy that I thought was Eddie Vedder with a better voice was pretty good. I don't know. Like no one knows.
I gotta look up who that was.
Nobody knows who that guy was. Just like, wow, Eddie Vedder can sing.
He's
And they're
somebody. Rolling Stone or somebody said who that was.
And then they're like, we'd like to introduce you to Eddie Vedder. I was like, that's right. And he started singing. I was like, yeah, there's no way he can ever.
Yeah, I was looking at him.
He can't ever
because I
fix
knew
that
Eddie.
voice.
Yeah, because I knew I'd seen Eddie Vedder recently. I was like, I thought he had a beard, and that doesn't. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's just old. But
It's the same haircut though. Like
Yeah.
you're looking at him, like if they do just the right shot, like they did in Lord of the Rings, where Gandalf is like 8 feet in front of him,
yeah,
so he looks taller, but they're the same height, so they look the same. Like if you did a quick pan, I wouldn't know who's who.
yep. So that was all amazing. And then the Stones, only 2 songs because let's face it, they're older than Moses, and they had a show the next night too.
They had a show,
and which
like, a
they
couple
never
days
do.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they never double book like that. So like they did 2 songs, got out of there, and then for me, the crowning glory of the night was the Who.
Yeah,
I mean, I just recently rediscovered my love of the Who because I had my Zeppelin phase and my Ozzy phase and my AC/DC phase, and the Who was just sort of always there, like part of the woodwork.
yeah. You didn't get into them because you never got out of them, type thing. They were always
it was, and they had so many hits that like they just all I can think of 24 Who songs that still get played on the radio. And where I live, I'm halfway between 2. I don't want to call them major cities, but like 2 city-ish places in Western New York, and the Rochester station was all like that was like the AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Stevie Ray Vaughan station, and then the one in Buffalo was more like Stones, Beatles, Grateful Dead station, but they both play the daylights out of the Who. And so anyway, I spent the last 2 weeks like just watching every Who video I could find on YouTube, and then here they come, and I tell you, Pete Townshend still
rocks harder.
gives me the chills watching him play. He's still just the quintessential pissed off,
He's rock and roll.
in your face rock and roll guitar player. And Roger Daltrey, like
He really didn't he hasn't lost much of his voice at all.
I heard him strain a couple of times, but for being 68 years old, 47 years in the game,
and still be able to hit all that stuff.
a guy's still got more vocal power than anybody I heard on the radio recently,
Oh yeah,
and looks good doing it. I mean,
right. Like you just watch song by song, one button, another button, by the end of the show, he doesn't have a shirt on anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, when did that happen?
Mick Jagger was like flamboyantly ripping clothes off in their 2-song set, and like everybody was just kind of grossed out by it. But this, I remember watching the Stones go through that. Like they came off of Steel Wheels, and like biggest tour in the world, and then like Pink Floyd would throw the biggest tour in the world, and then the Stones would throw the biggest tour in the world, and like that went back and forth for like 5 records.
And I think U2 ended up killing them with Pop.
Yeah, well, everybody was like, man, what are the Stones thinking? Like, they're just trying too hard, they're pretending. And then they disappeared for a couple of years, and when they came back, they had crossed that border into being the elder statesmen of rock.
So they didn't need a lot of production.
No. People are just like, wow, those guys are still kicking. All right, it's an amazing show.
Yeah.
I thought they were not amazing, but I thought The Who was. And because they went through that same thing. Actually, at just about the same time the Stones were going through it, you watch footage of The Who from like 89, 90, and like, you know, Townshend's got like pants hiked up to his nipples and a greasy ponytail, and Daltrey looks all like he's wearing a leather coat and you can't tell where it stops and his neck starts because he's just all leathery too. And then all of a sudden they hit that mark where like, boom, elder statesman of rock. Because really, like, you
and
look
it all
at
came back. Like,
yeah. But they're like, you know, you got like, all right, Beatles, Stones, Who. Easily the 3 top rock acts of all time, and the Stones and the Who are still at it. Well, actually, you know, you had McCartney still at it.
Still around.
That
and
same night, same stage.
Ringo's all-star band. just
And, you know, like, beyond that, like, who else can you think of that's got that much rock longevity? Like, the next tier is, like, Zeppelin, Aerosmith, AC/DC.
Yeah.
And only 2 of them are still at it. Like,
oh, yeah, because Zeppelin doesn't really do, like, they did that one-off.
Yeah, those guys, they're around. But, yeah, like, AC/DC still tours like a mo.
Yeah.
Like a...
touring like some dudes.
Touring strong.
Good
yeah,
catch.
but who's still touring? Daltrey was out on tour, and then Daltrey and Townsend are going to be out on tour.
Nice. And they've got John Mayer Trio's backing band played the whole night. Steve Jordan, like Eric Clapton came on, and I was so excited to see Steve Jordan. I could give 2 craps about Eric Clapton.
Right.
There's like, Steve Jordan's playing. Amanda told me from the other room, like I was in the kitchen grabbing something, and she's like, LeVar Burton's playing drums for Eric Clapton. I was like, oh, it's Steve Jordan. Like ran in. Like I was not paying attention to the guitar at all. Like watching Steve Jordan being the groove demon that he is. And then for the Who, Pino Palladino is playing bass, and he's disgusting. Like,
I didn't even see him once.
Exactly.
I watched it twice through. I don't think he's in the footage.
Which is impressive because like he's probably one of the might be the best bass player that played all night. He's just super in the pocket. Like his big thing is fretless bass. Like he's a fretless bass guy, but all these rock acts want him because he's so Motown. This skinny, white, tall little English dude who's got the fattest fingers around.
And they had Ringo Starr's kid playing drums for him too.
Yeah. How did he come out of Ringo Starr?
I know it. He's been with him a while,
that
too.
That can't be Ringo's actual kid. He's like a milkman kid. Like, Ringo's off on tour and some real drummer.
Ringo's my daddy. Ringo's my daddy. Yeah.
Really? You can do more with 2 toes than that kid. I love that nice little jelly bean kit that he had, too, the Vista Light.
Yeah.
I want one.
So what else?
What else is there?
Oh, a buddy of mine ran the video walls on that show.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I love when shows happen in New York because all my college friends are still working down there. I can usually jump on Facebook and catch a couple, like, silhouette at front of house. Like, this is what I'm doing right now, and it's what I'm seeing on TV.
While we're making ramen noodles.
Yeah. I should have stayed in New York. Not really. So what else we got? We got a couple of minutes left. I think we covered pretty much everything.
I got to mess around with the Mackie iPad console.
Oh, how was that?
It's actually not too bad. Like, it doesn't sound as much like a Mackie as most other Mackies.
The Onyx Pre's they get good reviews.
It's just a 16-channel thing, so they're actual physical gain knobs. And what's cool is there's a dock that you put the iPad into, and while it's installed in that dock, you can record straight onto it. But once you take it out, you can walk around and mix all that stuff. What's neat about it is you can hook up a bunch of them on a network. So we're actually getting together, me and some of my buddies, and doing a ZZ Top tribute band for 2 or 3 shows just to mess around with it. And everybody's got an iPad, so you hook them all up to the network, and you just have your iPad there, and you mix your own monitors.
Oh, nice.
On stage. It's got some cool stuff like I
saw like in the ad for that. Don't they have it where like instead of looking at faders, is there an option where you can like look at the stage and it's like wood and there's pictures of instruments and stuff?
So.
Or is that the other dumb iPad mixer? Is that
I don't know exactly, but
one or something?
It's for. I think it was like $1,000 for the thing, but
I think it might be closer to 1,500. But
is it okay?
No, maybe it is $1,000. Yeah,
I think it's $1,000 plus the iPad.
Yeah.
So I mean, for that much money for bar bands, because he works for a pretty decent production company out of Corning, New York, and they do bar bands all the time, and they don't ever really need more than 15 inputs. So 16 is just kind of just to have. So, he's like, for $1,000, you take it out to a show. He can fit an entire show in the back of his Chevy HHR now. Because everything, they've got powered boxes, powered subs. He's got a digital snake box that he'll take with him, drop that on the stage. And it's nice, like he can walk around, mix monitors on the stage. And for $1,000 for having an individual on each channel, delay, reverb, comp, gate on each single channel. I mean, if you think about all the outboard gear that you would have to take with you, it's a plus of digital stuff. So it's, we just ran it through some QSC K10s and it sounded all right. It wasn't, the best thing around, but for, $1,500, if you don't need something as big as that Behringer thing, it's not bad to have.
Yeah.
That's really all I got. I only had a couple hours to mess around with it before I had to go and eat hot dogs. But
all right. Well, looks like we're drawing to a close here. I'll touch on the early side, which would be fine. Let me think here if there's any housekeeping stuff to catch up with. We're as we're kind of ramping back up, coming up with ideas. As always, we love your requests for discussions and ideas. I want to refer you to a couple of joints over on Reddit. If you go to r/livesound or r/audio engineering, a couple of real cool forums over there where a lot of noobs are in there just asking questions, but there's also a fair number of heavy hitters answering questions. Pretty troll-free zones. Like I've only ever really seen one time where things got a little bit out of hand. Like heated arguments happen all the time, which is cool, but only once has it gotten into like your mama kind of stuff. So those are a couple of cool resources. Also check out prosoundweb.com. Actually, click on the resources link on the Smart to Noise blog. I'll show you a lot of cool places you can go if you're looking for information. Hope to get Carl up and running again, writing us a weekly post. Hoping to get Anth up doing the
playlist again.
The playlist here weekly if possible.
Mm-hmm.
And we might start taking Saturdays off from posting. Maybe looking to do just 5 days a week.
What are we, the post office?
And podcasts on Sundays, because the more I look at the statistics, it looks as though like we got actually a fair number of people read every day. Like it either goes to their inbox and they read it, or they look it up when they're on a coffee break or whatever. But it seems as though the majority of readers check in a couple of times a week and just sort of catch up on whatever interests them. So cool. It seems like if we don't post, Saturday's gig day anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people are getting up on Saturday morning and reading an early morning post from us. So anyway, we're gonna scale back and do that. 5 days of posting, podcasts on Sunday. That'll be what you get from us for a little bit. Yeah, I'm kind of just running out of steam here.
Yeah,
not gonna come to a big crashing finish. So anyway, there will be some stuff coming up. Anthony's got a few projects nearing finality. We should have some samples to play for you. I've got...
they're almost done. So nice.
Got the movie project almost done. In another month at the most, we'll probably have samples of that for you to watch. Actually, you'll probably be able to watch the whole thing online in not too many weeks, just like last year's. So turn that loose. Mm-hmm. And then music projects coming up. I don't know. I guess we'll have to talk about it. See what's on the horizon.
We can do some A/B stuff. We'll work in some samples with... that Slate plugin that I've got, the virtual console collection.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, you have that?
Yeah, I bought it.
Oh.
it was 60% off on Cyber Monday. So instead of $250, it was
Boy, is that the
$99
time to get plugins.
Right? No, it was like.
Except I was looking at plugins that were normally cheap, and I got them for free on Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday. Waves was giving stuff away.
Oh, I know. There's the ones that I want. They weren't marking
not
down at all.
The platinum package was not being given away. But
no, I want the Jack Joseph Puig compressors and the.
Does anybody make a GML compressor plugin?
I'm sure Waves does. Maybe UA does.
I need to look that up. That's the one high-end piece of gear that I really covet. And actually, I want to look around and see. I don't know if anybody made a Pro VLA plugin. And it probably only cost about $10 because you look at a $5,000 compressor. You can get the plugin for $300. So a $300 compressor that should be like free to $12.95. I'm thinking for the plugin.
I'll do that. $12.95 is not bad.
All right. All right, yeah, we're going to go out with a fizzle here. Anyway, thank you to all of you who stuck around. I noticed as soon as I posted up the couple of back issues of the podcast, some people swooped right in, snapped them up. So glad you're still out there, still listening, still care. Yeah, that's it. We'll see you next week.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night. Good night, ladies.